Your defenders, they've tucked their tails and they've ran into hiding. You are now on the chopping block. After what we just saw last night, after what you said in that post-game press conference, the delusion that comes out.
That was not a question about strategy. That was a direct question about Caitlin Clark's resilience after she dropped 17 points in the fourth quarter to drag her team back from the dead. And the woman who's supposed to be coaching her couldn't bring herself to say the name. 104-102. Mystics over Fever. And the press conference that followed is now the entire story.
Besides, the rotations were chaotic. In the first quarter, Caitlin Clark subbed out and came back in twice. How? How is that possible? In the first half, we went 11 deep in our bench. Why? How is that possible? Michaela Timpson and Raven Johnson only playing 4 minutes each. How? Why is that possible?
Let's start with the basketball, because the basketball is damning enough on its own. In the first quarter, Caitlin Clark was substituted out and brought back in twice. Twice. In the same quarter. That's not a rotation, that's chaos written on a clipboard. Meanwhile, the bench got 11 players in the first half of a 2-point game, while Caitlin Timpson and Lexi Hull combined for roughly 4 minutes each. This is a Fever team built around a generational shooter, and somehow the people running it can't decide who plays when she sits.
Caitlin Clark doing her thing in the first quarter, back-to-back threes. Stephanie White says, "Come take a seat with me, young one." Second quarter offense, terrible. Second quarter defense, terrible. In the second quarter, this team scored 9 points. Stephanie White, you're garbage. You're trash. 9 points in a quarter with a Caitlin Clark team? You have to actively try to be that bad, right?
Second quarter, 9 points. 9. You can score 9 points in a quarter without trying. You can score 9 points in a quarter by accident. The Indiana Fever, with Caitlin Clark on the floor, posted 9 points in 12 game minutes. That is not a player problem. That is a system problem. And in case anyone wants to pretend that's an outlier, the third quarter wasn't much better. The offense had no flow, no actions designed to free Clark off screens, and no answer when Washington started loading up on her on the perimeter.
Fourth quarter rolls around, Caitlin Clark says, "Fuck all this. Screw you, screw you, screw you, and screw you." Let me see. Hines Allen, Lexi. Okay, we're gonna go do our thing, and we're gonna get back in this game. Send me some screens. I'll make the shots. Don't worry about it. Caitlin Clark goes off for 17 in the fourth quarter.
Then the fourth quarter happens. And what you just heard is exactly what showed up on the broadcast. Caitlin Clark, with the season slipping away, started waving teammates into screens and calling her own number. 5 threes in the final frame. More points in 12 minutes than she had in the first 3 quarters combined. That run forced overtime in a game the Fever had absolutely no business being in. That is the kind of fourth quarter that defines a young star's career arc. That is the kind of fourth quarter that head coaches get asked about for the next 48 hours. And when the reporter sat in front of Stephanie White and teed up exactly that question, here's what happened.
Look at this. Look at this at the end of the game.
Yeah, Steph, what did you think of the rally that your team had in the fourth quarter? Particularly when it comes to Caitlin, I think she made 5 threes in that fourth quarter, more than her first 2 games combined. So just your thoughts on the resilience from her.
I thought our whole group showed resilience, in that.
Get this woman a drug test. Get this woman a drug.
Watch the question one more time. The reporter is specifically asking about Caitlin. He name checks her. He cites the exact stat. 5 threes in the fourth, more than her first 3 quarters combined. He is begging the head coach to say something, anything, about the player who just put her team on her back for 12 minutes. And what does the head coach do? She pivots immediately to we, our group, our resilience, our ability to make tough shots. There is a coaching philosophy that says you deflect praise to the team. That is a real and respectable approach. But here's the part that breaks that defense entirely. Stephanie White has not consistently applied that approach this season. We have the receipts. When Kelsey Mitchell had her big game, the same coach, in the same kind of press conference, sounded completely different.
Same coach had no issues glazing the hell out of Kelsey Mitchell and breaking down the process.
Start, I guess, with Kelsey Mitchell and what she did to Grammy was something else.
It's speechless, really. She was 0 for 7 in the first half and 4 points. And just put us on her back. Made big shot after big shot, big play after big play. She didn't settle, she stayed aggressive, and...
Speechless. Over 7 in the first half. Put us on her back. Made big shot after big shot. Big play after big play. Didn't settle. Stayed aggressive. Now read those words back and ask yourself how many of them apply to what Caitlin Clark did in the fourth quarter against the Mystics. Every single one. Big shot after big shot. Did not settle. Stayed aggressive. Put the team on her back. Those are not opinions. Those are the words the coach used about a different player when she felt like saying them. So when the same coach is given an identical opportunity to describe an identical performance from her franchise player, and instead delivers a generic statement about the group, that is not a coaching philosophy. That is a choice. A specific, repeated, observable choice that her own previous press conferences make impossible to spin.
This is why I've been adamantly on the get Stephanie White the hell out of here train. Offensively, there's no identity. Defensively, there's no identity. You don't like your best player. You don't know how to utilize your best player. You don't know how to give credit to your best player. We win despite your best efforts to make us lose. Caitlin Clark's success last night was in spite of you. Not because of you, in spite of you.
Here is where this story becomes bigger than one press conference and one bad rotation. Because what we are watching in real time is a misalignment between the most popular athlete in women's basketball and the franchise that drafted her. Start with the on-court product. There is no offensive identity in Indiana right now. There is no defensive identity. The Fever finished 104-102 on a night Caitlin Clark scored 17 in the fourth quarter, and the team still lost. You don't lose that game by accident. You lose it because the first 3 quarters were a structural failure, and structural failures land on the head coach's desk. 11 different players in the first half. 2 substitutions on your star guard in the first quarter alone. A 9-point second quarter from an offense built around a player whose entire skill set is generating offense. None of that is Caitlin Clark's fault. All of it is the staff's fault. Now layer on the media piece. Beat writers covering this team are not stupid. They notice when a coach lights up describing Kelsey Mitchell's heroics and goes monotone describing Caitlin Clark's heroics. They notice when the same reporter asks the same kind of question about 2 different players and gets 2 completely different temperatures back. That contrast is going to show up in articles. It already is. And when it does, the front office gets pulled into the story too, because they are the ones who hired this staff and the ones who have to defend the hire. Think about what this looks like from inside the locker room. Caitlin Clark just scored 17 in a quarter to give her team a chance. She walks past the podium on her way out and hears her head coach pivot to the group when asked specifically about her resilience. That is the kind of small moment players remember. It does not blow up immediately. It does not become a headline overnight. It compounds, game by game, press conference by press conference. Until one day a reporter asks the player a question about her relationship with the coach, and there is a half-second pause before the answer, and the half-second pause becomes its own story. This is also where Lynn Dunn and the rest of the front office stops being a bystander. The basketball results are not improving, the rotations are not stabilizing. The fan base that drove the Fever to record ratings, record attendance, record merchandise sales, is increasingly vocal about wanting changes. Indiana parlayed back-to-back #1 overall picks into a roster that just lost at home to the Mystics. There is a ceiling on how long you can blame personnel when the personnel keeps producing fourth-quarter miracles. Compare this to how other young superstars are handled around the league. When Aja Wilson goes off, Becky Hammon names her, glazes her, breaks the performance down possession by possession in the press conference. When Brianna Stewart goes off, Sandy Brondello does the same. That is the basic job of coaching a franchise face. You credit them publicly. You build their brand alongside the team's brand. You do not have to fawn. You do have to acknowledge. The Stephanie White answer about, quote, our group, end quote, would be unremarkable in a vacuum. The problem is that this is not a vacuum. The problem is that the comparison clip exists, on tape, in this same season, from this same coach, with completely different energy attached. Once that contrast is on record, every future press conference becomes a referendum. Every non-answer about Caitlin Clark becomes another data point. And the longer it goes on, the more it stops being a personality quirk and starts being a pattern. There is also a basketball cost to all of this. A coach who cannot publicly back the franchise player loses leverage with that player in private. A coach who keeps her on the bench in fourth-quarter overtime situations after she just scored 17 in the previous 12 minutes loses leverage with the locker room. A coach who runs 11 deep in a 2-point game loses leverage with veterans who can read a substitution pattern. None of these things explode in week 1. All of them erode the foundation by week 10. The Fever are not a finished product. They are not supposed to be. But the path from young roster to playoff contender requires alignment between the star, the staff, and the front office. Right now in Indiana, that alignment is fraying in public, one 20-second press conference clip at a time. And what makes the Stephanie White situation different from a normal coaching critique is that the evidence is on tape, on the team's own official channels, comparing her own words about her own players against herself. So here is the question that actually matters going forward. Is this a head coach who can adjust, who can watch this clip back, see what everyone else is seeing, and start coaching and speaking like someone who understands what she has in Caitlin Clark? Or is this who Stephanie White is, and the Fever organization is going to have to decide whether they keep the coach or build around the player? Because in this league, with this player, with this fan base, you do not get to do both for very long. Tell me where you stand in the comments. Who wins this standoff, the coach or the franchise player? And how long do you give it before Lynn Dunn has to make a decision? Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.